Hi, I'm Lauren Spear from HorrorFam.com. We update every Friday with a new horror related article or interview, and this is the first time Halloween has been on a Friday since we started, and it won't be again until 2031. So we wanted to do something special. We're going to have every person who works behind the scenes at HorrorFam.com come on and say who they are and what they do and what their favorite horror movies are, what their favorite horror book is. And they're going to give a shout out to a horror creator that they think deserves more attention, and what we all like to do on Halloween. And here we are.
Hi everyone, it's that time of the year again, Halloween. My name is Frank Spear. I'm co-founder of HorrorFam.com. When I'm not helping Lauren out behind the scenes, I'm usually working on one of my horror franchise review roundups. So far, I've covered Return of the Living Dead, The Purge, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Friday the 13th. And I also contribute to many of our yearly roundup posts. So my top 5 favorite horror movies are Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Day of the Dead, The Invisible Man Returns, Abigail, and Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever. For me, what makes a horror movie one of my favorites is when I find myself thinking about it days, weeks, months, even years after I've seen it the first time, and all 5 of those movies have had that effect on me. So my favorite horrors book series of all time is The Dark Tower by Stephen King. I read this series for the first time when I was a teenager, and it's so good, very haunting. It has homicidal trains, werewolf clans, and some really crazy looking creatures. They actually illustrated some of them in this volume of 3. Check this out. Crazy, right? This thing haunted me. Look at that face. But yeah, I read it again as an adult, and it's so good. It more than held up. If you've never sat down and read the 7 books in the series, I highly recommend you give it a shot. While we're on the topic of illustrations in books, I also wanted to add I love the 1950s DC comics. They're re-releasing all of them in trade paperback on Amazon, so I've been picking them up there, and they're just so good, classic. The art's awesome. It's a great time. I also wanted to give a shout out to indie game studio Massive Monster. Their 2022 game Cult of the Lamb is both surprisingly dark and cute at the same time, which was really interesting to see put together. Um, I played it every year since it's come out. Their community is great, and they're always expanding on what they've built. They're gearing up to release their next DLC called Woolhaven, and it's allegedly bigger than the core game. Comes out early next year. I'm really looking forward to checking it out. And if you've never played Cult of the Lamb, it's probably on sale right now for the Halloween special, so you should check it out. So yeah, for Halloween, I absolutely love carving jack-o'-lanterns, even though I never know what I'm gonna make until the carving knife's already in the pumpkin. I also like consuming as much extra horror movies and TV shows and books that I possibly can. And because I love to cook, I also like making homemade pumpkin roll with homemade cream cheese frosting. Good stuff. But yeah, that's about it. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Hi, my name is Robert Thorpe, and I guess I'm the unofficial OG for Lauren's Horror Fam crew. My articles tend to focus on the entertainments and movies from the 20th century. My top 3 favorite films, at least for today, are Them, Aliens, and of course, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. My favorite horror book, Visual Aid. This is my favorite horror book. It came out in 1965 and has probably been out of print since then, but it's awesome. They occasionally turn up on eBay, so if you can find one, definitely worth the look. I want to give a shout out to my favorite creator, and that would be Kathy Tharp. She's my favorite artist, and I like everything that she does. And finally, my favorite thing to do on Halloween is to sit at the big table with my family and carve jack-o'-lanterns. That's just the best. So, everybody out there, happy Halloween. Enjoy. I hope your bags are full of nothing but your favorite candies. Later.
Hey everybody, it's Isaiah Swanson here. I write Izzy's Eerie Indies for HorrorFam.com, and I'm also the founder and editor of The Bitter Wolf, which is a website and YouTube channel devoted to promoting the work of independent horror filmmakers. What are my favorite horror movies? That's a really difficult question to answer. So I'm going to go with the movies that represent different categories of films that I personally love. I love Black Christmas. That's probably my favorite slasher of all time. Black Christmas and Stage Fright. These are some really unique slashers, and Black Christmas, of course, leaves you with such a gut-wrenching feeling at the end, and I just love that movie. The Devils and The Exorcist are my two favorite in the religious horror category. I love Critters. I truly love Critters. And so does my character, the Bitter Wolf. Hello. I love body horror, too. My favorite body horror movie is Society. So I would say those are some of my favorite movies right now, but the list is always changing. Favorite books. Why does Lauren make us do favorites? It's too hard to pick a favorite. This year, I read Dioram Abyssi by Angel Krauss, who's a writer out of Georgia. This is an amazing creature feature. It's about a shark cult. Underwater shark cult. So enjoy. I love horror content creators. I love the horror community. Check out my project on the Bitter Wolf YouTube channel, The Horror Mosaic, where I show video profiles of different people in the horror community, filmmakers, writers, actors, content creators, fans, everybody. And one content creator that I think is doing an amazing job and who did an amazing job in 2024, going into 2025, is Mike and Serial. He is the found footage expert in the horror community, and he's currently on Rise from the Dead podcast as a co-host. He also co-hosts Found Footage Fridays on Voices from the Mausoleum, and he comes onto my channel about once a month and joins the Bitter panelists to talk about different horror movie things. And he makes recommendations for Found TV, so he's doing some really amazing stuff right now. To be honest with you, since I'm a horror fan 24/7, 365, I have Halloween in my heart every single day of the year. So on Halloween, I usually do the same exact thing I do every single day of the year. So this year, I'm going to watch some movies. And I'm going to curl up in my bed and then hopefully enjoy the nice weather. Happy Halloween, everybody. See you on HorrorFam.com.
Hi, friends. I'm Christy Bandy, and this really handsome, kind of tall guy behind me is my 12-foot skeleton, Murray. And Lauren asked me to make a Halloween video for HorrorFam.com. So I am a writer, obviously, and my passion is writing about horror movies, primarily newer movies. I really love going to the theater as much as possible. I would go every week if I could, just to watch new movies and review them. I really love seeing horror on the big screen, especially with a packed audience and everybody screaming and reacting. It doesn't get much better than that. My personal top 5 favorite horror movies. It's kind of like picking a favorite skeleton, and I'm obsessed with skeletons, and I have a lot of them, so I'll try to do my best for today. Number 1 will always and forever be Nightmare on Elm Street, that movie that started my love of horror at age 11, and also the original Halloween, which I never get tired of watching. And for newer things, Devil's Rejects is an amazing movie. I still think it's so good. It's so well done. So much fun. And Trick or Treat, because a good anthology, there's not many things better than that. And that's a really good example of a really well done one. And there's supposed to be a sequel, but I don't know if it's true. I really wish he would get on that, though, because it would be amazing. I also really love Terrifier 2. The Halloween vibes, Sienna being a badass final girl, the gore, the effects. It's just such a good film. So, my favorite horror book of all time has not changed since I was 14 years old, and it's actually also just my favorite book in general, which is It by Stephen King. If you haven't read it, it's really scary, and I do have opinions about both movie adaptations, but I'm gonna leave that for a different video. It's a really scary book, and the first time I read it, I was so scared that I had to hide the book under a blanket while I went to sleep so I wouldn't accidentally see the cover in the middle of the night if I woke up. It terrified me. I still think it's amazing, and obviously, Stephen King is my favorite writer, so my favorite horror creator would actually be I know that Lauren's thinking of, like, writers and things like that, but I'm thinking about the Mystic Museum, which is in Burbank, California, and I love visiting when I go visit Lauren, and the owners of the Mystic Museum, Kiko and Eric, are 2 highly creative, passionate, amazing people who put on these crazy good exhibits and interesting installations, and it's so artistic, and there's so much passion. So when you walk through the museum, it's always a really good time for horror fans, lots of fun things to do and take pictures of. They also have a super cute gift shop, and the vibes are just top tier when you go there and visit, and I can't wait to go back. I really look forward to going there every time I visit California, and multiple times if I can, and I think it's really awesome. What do I usually do on Halloween? Pretty much the same thing every year. When my kids were little, we used to dress up and go out. Now that my kids are grown, sad. I'd still love to dress up if I could, but instead, I usually eat my favorite Halloween candy, which is Twizzlers or gummy bears, something fruity like that. Watch movies, Halloween, trick or treat, things like that, and just enjoy the day. It's the best time of the year. It's the most magical. It's the most exciting for us horror fans and Halloween junkies. And I hope everyone has a ton of pumpkin spice lattes, carves a pumpkin, walks through the pumpkin patch, listens to spooky tunes, and has an amazing Halloween.
Hi, everyone. This is AJ Spencer from HorrorFam.com. I write the article AJ's Recommended Reads, where I recommend a book to you. I just wanted to get on here and list some of my favorite spooky season activities. Near Halloween, I like to watch some of my favorite horror movies, which include John Carpenter's 1978 masterpiece, Halloween, Mike Daughtry's 2007 masterpiece, Trick or Treat, and some of my other favorites include Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Ernest Scared Stupid, and The Monster Squad. Those are just really fun ones that I enjoy watching traditionally every year. It's really hard to pick a favorite horror book, but if I was going to be forced to give one right off the top of my head, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, but the novelization for John Carpenter's Halloween, written by Curtis Richards, is one of my favorite books of all time. It really expands on the lore of Michael Myers, and it's just a really, really well-written book. Woo! Let's see. Other Halloween traditions for me include, of course, the treats, the candy, and decorating pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns. Those are some of the things that I like to do every year. Real quick shout out to a indie horror artist who I think has done a really good job this year. I'm going with our own fearless leader. Lauren Spear has done an incredible job with the website, and she is a absolute joy to work with, and I will do it for as long as I can. So, Lauren Spear, you rock. Keep up the good work. Find me online, Instagram.com, at Horror Author AJ. I'm AJ Spencer on Facebook. I am Grim Gravestone on Twitter. Not on there as much anymore, but that's where you can find me there. And I'm also on TikTok at Horror Author AJ. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great and safe Halloween. And I will see you on Horror Fam. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name's Adam Page. I'm a writer for Horror Fam. I have been since August of 2024, and I'm also, as Lauren called me, Horror Fam's UK correspondent, which is a pretty cool title to have. My top 3 horror movies would be Silence of the Lambs, which we have Anthony Hopkins' first outing as Hannibal Lecter. Blair Witch Project creates an atmosphere of fear and dread the whole way through it. And The Exorcist. There is a reason it has been voted the scariest movie of all time several times over, so check them out. My favourite horror novel would be Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and in it he creates a family that feels real, he makes you care about them, and then he rips them to pieces. It's a genuinely frightening book, and it will stay with you after you've put it down. For indie horror, I'd like to point out this year was in the same vein as Winnie the Pooh's Blood and Honey, which was released last year. We have Popeye the Slayer Man, directed by Robert Michael Ryan. And in it, a group of students search out the mystery of the Sailor Man in an abandoned cannery. The kills in it are gory, they're funny. There's also a good amount of heart in it. In the UK, it's available on Prime, so check it out where you can. My social media, on Threads, I am at adam.page.988, and Blue Sky is adam-page at bsky.social. And my favourite thing on Halloween, it used to be dress up with friends and go out, but these days it's a bit more of dressing up the 2 little girls in this house as princesses and trying to go trick-or-treat with them. But whatever you're into, whatever you like to get up to at Halloween, have a very, very happy Halloween. Thanks.
Hi again. Well, once again, my name is Lauren Spear, and I am the co-owner and head editor and head writer for HorrorFam.com. And I write articles, I host the podcast, I run all of our social media accounts, I write our newsletter, I edit every article, even if it's not written by me, it goes through me. I answer every email. I do a whole bunch of stuff. And my favorite horror movies are The Monster Squad, The Frighteners, and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And from there, my favorites kind of change depending on what mood I'm in. Like Tremors, The Faculty, Return to Oz, Little Shop of Horrors, Evil Dead 2, Dead Alive, Hausu, Matango, and so many others. For me, what makes things a favorite is both enjoyment at the time and then repeated enjoyment over time. Like my top 3, I've seen over 40 times each. So those are like pretty well set in as my top 3. And then others like Scream, those are also favorites, and that means that I've seen them at least 10 times. And so that's why you don't always see newer movies on my list of favorites. Like, I think Totally Killer and Abigail are going to be on my favorites eventually, but for right now, they're just horror movies that I love. I need more time with them before they get the favorite classification. And, yeah, basically anytime that I say in an article or something that, oh, this is one of my favorites, it means that I not only enjoy it, but I have repeatedly enjoyed it. And for my favorite horror book, I know that a lot of my teammates are really into Stephen King, and I, on the other hand, am really into Clive Barker. And if you're unfamiliar, a lot of his books and short stories have been made into movies, like The Hellbound Heart became Hellraiser, and Cabal became Nightbreed, and The Forbidden became Candyman, and so on and so forth. And a lot of the stories from his Books of Blood series are also got film adaptations like Midnight Meat Train. But my favorite horror book, which is by Clive Barker, is actually one of his books for children, and it's The Thief of Always. And it is more terrifying than any of his books for adults. Essentially, it's about how time is marching ever onward, and everyone that you've ever known or loved will, grow old and pass on while you're distracted by other things. And it's pretty scary. And also, he did a lot of illustrations for it. So at the beginning of each chapter, he put in illustrations that he did himself, and I'm going to show you one from chapter 1 because the other ones are spoilers. So there's one of the illustrations. And yeah, this is my favorite horror book, and I think everyone should check it out. And an indie horror creator that I think deserves more attention is Skyla Macy, who runs the Slasher newsletter. And people have been asking us for a newsletter for years, and I kept thinking, like, why would anyone want to read a newsletter? But then I subscribed to her newsletter, and I was like, oh, I get it. Newsletters can be good. And she sends those out every weekend, and I like to save them and read them on Monday morning to start my week off right. She does just wonderful newsletters about horror topics, and she's a great writer, and they're always really fun and interesting. You never know what to expect, so it's always exciting. But you should also check out all of I'm sure my teammates have said lots of lovely people, and I know Isaiah also showcases indie horror creators on his own show, The Horror Mosaic, and I talk to people on my show, the horrorfam.com podcast, so there's interviews with indie horror creators on there, and I'm hoping that you will write some of the indie horror creators and projects that you love in the comments section, because I'd love to learn about more of them. As for what I like to do on Halloween, it pretty much all involves pumpkins. I really like carving jack-o'-lanterns with my family. And we used to have friends come over, and they would each get a pumpkin and carve a pumpkin too. And I love doing that. And then my husband makes a really cool pumpkin cake out of the innards, and my mom likes to bake the seeds. And so we have pumpkin cake and pumpkin seeds and jack-o'-lanterns, and watch movies or play board games like Horrified or Zombie Dice. And that's what I like to do on Halloween. And I hope that you have a wonderful Halloween, and that you enjoy every moment, and that you have a great time. This is the last time Halloween's going to be on a Friday until 2031, so make the most of it. Happy Halloween!
When I'm not helping my wonderful wife, Lauren.